the subtle psychology of why people unconsciously distance themselves from you. The silent fade. The invisible beginning. Have you ever felt someone slipping away, even though nothing happened? No argument, no betrayal, no clear reason, who's distance. And the most dangerous part, they still smile, they still reply, they still sigh. Everything's fine, but something is already gone. Here's the truth, most people never see. Disconnection doesn't start with words. It starts with signals. A slight shift in tone, a delay in response, a glance that ends too quickly. Tiny things your conscious mind ignores, but your nervous system does not. Because the human brain doesn't wait for conflict. It detects threat before language exists. This is where the silent fade begins. Not with rejection, but with a phase where someone unconsciously decides, I need to protect myself here. They won't say it. They won't even think it clearly, but their body already knows. So what changes? They lean back instead of they respond instead of engage. They observe instead of connect. And you feel it. Not logically, but physically, like something in the air just shifted. This is what most people miss. Distance is not created by one big moment. It is built through invisible friction. That friction comes from signals like slight emotional unavailability, reduced enthusiasm, subtle inconsistency, energy that no longer matches words. Nothing dramatic, but enough to trigger a silent question in the other person's mind. Am I safe here or not? And once that question appears, the connection is already unstable. Because humans don't wait for proof. They react to patterns, just like your nervous system reacts when something feels off, even when you can't explain why. Here's the uncomfortable truth. People don't consciously decide to distance themselves from you. They drift away because something in your behavior made their brain choose protection over connection. And once that shift begins, it doesn't stay one-sided. It spreads quietly. The mirror effect. How distance becomes contagious. Here's where it gets dangerous. Because distance is never isolated. It mirrors. Human beings are wired for emotional security. We don't just respond to people. We become like them. If someone feels warmth, you're naturally open. If someone feels cold, you unconsciously withdraw. This is not personality. This is biology. So when someone senses even a slight emotional withdrawal from you, they don't confront it. Much Italiano. You become quieter. They become distant. You hesitate. They pull back. You protect yourself. They protect themselves. And just like that, a loop is created. A defensive feedback loop. No one talks about it, but both people feel it. This is what makes it so destructive. Neither side believes they started it, because, technically, they didn't. You reacted to their energy. They reacted to yours. And now, both of you are slowly stepping back, thinking the other person is the one pulling away. This is what Jung hinted at in Human Dynamics. We are not just individuals interacting. We are mirrors activating each other's unconscious patterns. And when those patterns involve fear, the connection collapses silently. Here's the deeper layer most people never see. This loop is driven by one instinct. Safety first. The moment someone senses inconsistency, emotional unpredictability, subtle rejection, their brain doesn't analyze. It protects. And protection looks like less emotional investment, less vulnerability, less presence. Not because they don't care, but because something in them whispered, don't go deeper here. And now both of you are doing the same thing at the same time, without realizing it. That's how intimacy dies. Not from conflict, but from mutual silent retreat. Micro-rejections and emotional armor, the hidden triggers. Now we go deeper. Because the real damage comes from things so small, you don't even register them. These are called micro-rejections, and they are everywhere. Not obvious rejection, but subtle signals like shortened eye contact, slightly delayed replies, distracted listening, low emotional energy, half-engaged responses. Individually, meaningless. But together, they tell a story. And that story is, you're not fully chosen here. And the human nervous system is extremely sensitive to that signal, even when nothing is said. That's why you can feel distance before anything is confirmed. Because your brain tracks where attention and energy flow. Now here's where it gets darker. Because when people sense micro-rejection, they don't ask for clarity. They build emotional armor. Armor doesn't look like defense. It looks like personality. Suddenly, they become more sarcastic, more distracted, less available, slightly colder, emotionally controlled. Not because they changed, but because they are protecting something. And here's the twist. You misinterpret their armor as disinterest, while they are reacting to your signals that you didn't even know you were sending. This is the silent tragedy of modern connection. Two people, both trying to protect themselves, both unknowingly pushing each other away. And the more this continues, the more each person builds a case internally. They don't care. Something's off. I should pull back too. And just like that, distance becomes justified. Not because it was real at the start, but because it became mutually reinforced. This is how subtle disconnection evolves into emotional separation. No explosion, no closure. Just a slow shift from we feel close to we feel nothing. And most people never realize they weren't rejected. They were participating in a pattern they couldn't see. The intimacy paradox. Why people pull away when it gets real. Here's something that confuses almost everyone. Why do people distance themselves right when things start to feel meaningful? When the connection is good, when the bond is real, when everything seems to be moving forward. This is where most people get it wrong. They think if it was real, they wouldn't pull away. But the truth is darker. The deeper the connection, the greater the psychological risk. Because real intimacy does something dangerous. It removes masks. And most people have built their entire identity around those masks. So when someone gets close enough to see their insecurities, their contradictions, their emotional wounds, their hidden fears, the brain doesn't celebrate. It panics, not consciously, but instinctively. This is what creates the intimacy paradox. The more real it becomes, the more the nervous system tries to escape it, because being seen feels like losing control. And for many people, control equals safety. So what do? They don't run dramatically. They subtly reduce access. They reply slower, open up less, keep conversations surface level, introduce emotional distance. Not because they don't feel something, but because they feel too much. This is the part no one tells you. Distance is often a reaction to intensity, not a lack of interest. But here's where it gets more complex. We are living in a world, especially now, where people are constantly over endless messages, endless validation, endless shallow interactions. And because of that, real depth feels overwhelming. It demands presence, vulnerability, emotional responsibility. And most people today are not trained for that. So when something real appears, their system chooses the easier path. Retreat instead of depth. And here's the harsh truth. They won't explain it, because they don't even fully understand it themselves. They'll say, I've been busy, I need space, I'm just figuring things out, but underneath all of it is one silent driver. Fear of being fully seen. This is why intimacy doesn't collapse loudly. It fades. Because the person pulling away is not rejecting you. They are regulating themselves. And if you don't understand this, you will always take distance personally, when in reality, it was triggered by something deeper than you. Reversing the momentum. How to break the distance cycle. Now here's where everything changes. Because once you see the pattern, you stop reacting blindly. Most people, when they feel distance, do one of two things. 1. They chase harder. 2. They withdraw completely. Both are mistakes. Chasing creates pressure. Withdrawal confirms disconnection. And both feed the same loop. So what actually works? 1. Acknowledge without accusing. You don't confront aggressively. You don't pretend nothing is happening. You do something most people can't do. You name the shift calmly. Not, why are you acting weird? But, I feel like something shifted between us. This does something powerful. It breaks the unconscious pattern and brings it into awareness. Because most distancing dynamics survive on one thing: silence. The moment you calmly acknowledge it, the loop loses its invisibility. 2. Lower the emotional threat. Remember, distance is often about protection. So if you react with frustration, neediness, pressure, you confirm their fear. Instead, you create emotional safety. You become calm, grounded, non-reactive. This signals there is no danger here, and when the brain feels safe, it slowly stops retreating. 3. Use small bits for connection, not big emotional speeches, not dramatic gestures, small, controlled signals. A light message, a genuine moment, a relaxed presence. Because intimacy doesn't rebuild through intensity, it rebuilds through consistency. 4. Master self-awareness. The final level. This is where most people fail, because they only analyze the other person. But the real power move is this. Recognize your own distancing patterns. Ask yourself, where did I subtly withdraw first? Where did I send mixed signals? Where did I protect instead of connect? Because the hardest truth is this. You may have triggered the loop without knowing it. And this aligns with the deepest psychological reality. Humans are constantly projecting, reacting, and mirroring each other unconsciously. Once you see that, you stop playing the victim and start seeing the system. Most people will go their entire lives thinking they lost people for no reason. But now you know better. People don't just leave, they respond to energy, to signals, to subtle psychological shifts. And the ones who truly understand this operate differently. They don't chase, they don't panic, they don't collapse into emotion. They observe, they adjust, they stay grounded while others react. Because real power in relationships is not loud, it is calm, aware, and untouchable. And once you master this, you stop wondering why people distance themselves, because you start controlling the signals that decide whether they stay.